Okay, welcome back to part two. What we're doing is we are stacking the decimal points and place values. So, our two numbers are up here. So, now I want to stack them to make them vertical. When you're adding, the value or the number with the most digits doesn't really make a difference. So, you can kind of just put them in whichever order. We just have to make sure both of these numbers are written correctly. So, we have a 1 in the ones place, a 2 in the tenths place, a 3 in the hundredths place, and a 7 in the thousandths place. On our second number, we have a 3 in the ones place, we have a 2 in the tenths place, and we have a 1 in our hundredths place. All right, so as you can see, we stacked as in everything is in line, right? Our ones place is in line, our decimal point is in line, our tenths place is in line, our hundredths place is in line, and even our thousandths place is in line, even if we don't have a thousandth in the number 3 and 21 thousandths yet, or 3 and 21 hundredths yet. All right, that's where step two comes in. So step two, just like before, just like with your comparing and ordering decimals, what we're going to do next is add a face to save a place. Add a face to save a place. And remember, these are basically what we call emoji zeros, right? I think I just heard Baby Johnson crying a little bit. All right, so we're going to add faces to save places. So this is step two. All right, and remember, the reason why we do this is because sometimes we don't have the same amount of places in both numbers. So we want to make it easier to look at. And the best way to do that is draw yourself a zero and make sure that you know you put it in there. Because our original number is 3 and 21 hundredths. By putting an emoji zero, we know that we changed 3 and 21 hundredths to 3 and 210 thousandths. Remember, adding that zero does not change the value of the number. It just makes it easier to look at. All right? So we just added faces to save places. Okay? Now, here is step three. In step three, basically what you're going to do is ignore the decimal point. I know that sounds weird, but you've used the decimal point really well so far to line up your numbers and make sure that everything is in place. So for a second, just for a little bit, we're going to put the invisibility cloak on the decimal point, or we're going to let it do its best John Cena impression. You cannot see the decimal point. All right. And we're just going to add like normal. All right. So pretend that these are just whole numbers at this point. All right. So what I mean by that is we're looking at the numbers. I'm going to put my emoji zero in there. So we have everything lined up. All right. So now that they're lined up, I'm going to add them, but I'm just going to pretend the decimal point doesn't exist. So basically, you're looking at 1,237 plus 3,210. All right. So we're pretending the decimal point doesn't exist for the moment. And we're just going to add like whole numbers. All right. So 7 plus 0 is 7. 3 plus 1 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. And 1 plus 3 is 4. All right. So far, we just pretended like the decimal point wasn't there. Now, our answer is not 4,447. So we have to do this final step. This step is super important, but not hard at all. All right, and what you have to do is called drop it like it's hot. And what it is the decimal point. All right, so let me go ahead and put that in a different color too. What I mean by that is decimal point. All right, drop it like it's hot. So if you pick up something and it's super hot, you're probably going to drop it. All right, and that's exactly what you should be doing with this decimal point. So what I mean by that is if we're looking at the number, looking at the problem, and we did all the work that we've already done, we stacked our decimal points, we stacked our place values, then we added like normal after we ignored the decimal point. The only thing left to do is drop the decimal point straight down in the problem. And that allows our answer to have the proper value. So we just drop the decimal point like it's hot, straight down, and that turned our 4,447 into 4 and 447 thousandths.